Hello and welcome to TVB News. The city was battered by strong gusts and heavy downpours last night as Typhoon Yagi barreled past Hong Kong. The typhoon signal number 8 was up for more than 18 hours before being lowered to a number 3 shortly after midday. At least 9 people were taken to hospital after being injured during the storm. Jackie Lin reports.
Hong Kong's first number 8 gale or storm signal this year was issued with the onslaught of Super Typhoon Yagi, which was closest to the city in the small hours of Friday morning. It is déjà vu for Heng Fa Tsuen on eastern Hong Kong Island. The flood-prone neighborhood bears the brunt of typhoons almost every year. Gusts pounded the area. Some storm chasers try to feel the power of nature. At Hung Hom Pier, the blustery weather battered trees and shrubs hard. Some parents brought children to chase the winds despite warnings from government authorities. And despite the risks. Civil aid service personnel patrolled the harbourfront, urging citizens to stay away from the shoreline. This woman said it hurt when the wind and water splashed onto her face. During the period when T8 was issued, the Hong Kong Observatory issued the amber rainstorm warning signal twice. The heaviest downpours around Tai Po recorded 42 millimeters of rainfall per hour, and that was followed by Sha Tin and Yuen Long. The city received around 120 reports of fallen trees. They include one that collapsed onto the tram cable. Authorities worked overnight to clear up the scene. The observatory made timely updates about Yagi's forecast track, which allowed companies and residents to prepare in advance. Veteran meteorologist Lo Wing Mo said Yagi's characteristics made it easier to forecast.
It as a well-behaved typhoon, meaning that the track is relatively straightforward. The reason is that the movement of typhoons is usually affected by what we call the steering current. And for Yagi, the steering current is pretty stable, so the Hong Kong Observatory can predict the evolution.
Leung says such predictability is not guaranteed because weather systems vary every time. He added while Yagi was a super typhoon, it inflicted less damage to the city because of its long distance from Hong Kong. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The strong wind signal number 3 was issued early this afternoon and remains in force. Many residents were seen heading to work after having the morning off. Mimo Singai reports.
As Super Typhoon Yagi continued to depart from Hong Kong, the observatory issued the strong wind signal number 3 at 12:40 p.m. For many residents, a downgraded signal meant it was time for them to go to work. It was busy at Waffle Estate bus terminus in southern Hong Kong Island before the signal number 3 was issued. Long queues were formed at various bus stops. This bus route 4X was packed with passengers. This man said he needed to get back to work as soon as the signal number 3 was hoisted. He added he thought he could have the whole day off. The man said he is heading to North Point. While he expected the number 8 northeast gale or storm signal could not have lasted the entire Friday, he said it would be ideal to have an extra day off. In Mong Kok, showers were heavy at times, brought by the rain bands associated with Yagi. Some shops were already open even before the removal of signal number 8. Streets became busier in the afternoon. Bus companies including KMB and LWB gradually resumed services after the issuance of the signal number 3.
While the threat of Yagi has reduced, the observatory reminds residents to be cautious of the unsettled weather in the coming few days.
Meanwhile, multiple flights were cancelled or delayed under the adverse weather. Hong Kong International Airport set up a rest area for stranded passengers. Airport staff hand out water and biscuits for affected individuals. The airport authority said a total of 708 flights will be running today, which is 80% of the operational capacity of normal days. News 9, TVB News.
During the typhoon, a robbery was reported in Typhoon at the early hours of Friday. Police arrived at Nam Hang Tsun after a report was filed to the police at around midnight saying 5 men broke into a unit there. They are believed to have seized 2 luxury watches, 10 handbags, and credit cards. Sources say the lost items are worth more than $1 million and that the owners had their hands tied by the burglars who threatened them with knives. Under T8, Hong Kong stock trading was suspended for the whole day. However, starting September 23rd, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange will allow trading to continue during typhoons and other adverse weather conditions. Under the arrangement, brokerage companies conducted a market test in the event of inclement weather last month. While most securities companies were said to be ready for the new move, concerns remain over the rising operating costs. In the first months of this year, 28 brokerage firms shuttered operations. Given the increasing digital transactions in the industry, it's believed that there will be more mergers and acquisitions to cope with the increased cost. If trading continued on Friday, there could have been tax revenues of $190 million. Popular fitness chain Center Physical announced it will shut down temporarily with a new investor set to take over the business. Some lawmakers estimated that more than 10,000 customers and staff have been affected. As of 4 p.m., the Consumer Council received 34 related complaints involving $1.9 million. Jackie Lin reports.
One of the branches of Physical in Taikoo shuttered today. Still, with a notice on typhoon arrangements at the entrance. This man said his membership with Physical will only expire next year. He hopes Physical can continue its business or return part of his prepaid fees. In a notice issued to its employees, the Physical Health Center said some landlords of various branches maintained high rents after the pandemic. So it decided to temporarily close all branches to reorganize their business. It revealed that a new investor is in talks with the landlords. The new investor has also promised to continue some services for existing customers. Founded in 1986, Physical has a total of 19 branches. Gordon Yao of the Asian Academy for Sports and Fitness Professionals said, after the pandemic, many people traveled to the mainland during their holidays. That affected such fitness centers a lot, as their monthly expenses can rack up to over 7 digits. Last month, Physical still rolled out a discounted deal of $18,800 for its 10-year membership. Lawmaker Bill Tang said the closure could affect upwards of 10,000 members and 700 workers of Physical. Lawmaker Edward Leung meanwhile flagged the possible dubious sales tactics of the gym chain to peddle long-term memberships. He suggests that the government set an upper limit to the duration of gym membership contracts. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
And as China and other countries make advances in the computer chip industry, the U.S. is putting stricter export controls on critical technologies, including quantum computing and semiconductor manufacturing. The rules will cover worldwide exports of quantum computers, advanced chip-making tools, high-bandwidth chips, and components related to metals and AI applications. The U.S. Department of Commerce cited national security and foreign policy reasons for the action. China's foreign ministry said Beijing has always opposed the U.S. politicizing economic, trade, and sci-tech issues, as it would destabilize the global industrial and supply chain. An official from the Quantum Economic Development Forum pointed out the move could impede hiring top talents from around the world to work at U.S. companies. Welcome back. In a speech to the Economic Club of New York, former U.S. President Donald Trump detailed his plans for the economy should he return to the White House. Trump said Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has agreed to head a commission to conduct a financial audit of the federal government that would save trillions of dollars. Daniel Rowell tells us more.
My plan.
Speaking to the Economic Club of New York, former U.S. President Donald Trump told a group of executives he wants to lead a national economic renaissance should he return to the White House for a second term in office. As part of his plans, Trump said Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has agreed to head a commission to perform a financial audit of the federal government.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it.
Trump also said his administration would slash regulations to boost energy production, embracing cryptocurrencies and drastically cutting government spending, as well as corporate taxes for companies that produce in the US. Trump has previously floated the idea of chopping the 21% corporate tax rate to 15%. However, he clarified to the audience that would be solely for companies that produce in the US. Trump has also proposed not to tax tips or Social Security income. Economists have warned about Trump's plans to impose tariffs that he says would return manufacturing jobs to the US. Some have said such taxes on imports could worsen inflation. Daniel Rowell, TV News.
The father of the teenager suspected of opening fire at a Georgia high school, killing 4 people and wounding 9, has been arrested and accused of letting his son possess a weapon. 54-year-old Colin Gray, the father of shooting suspect Colt Gray, was also charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. Authorities have charged 14-year-old Colt Gray as an adult with murder for the shootings that took place Wednesday at Appalachia High School outside Atlanta. Arrest warrants accused him of using a semi-automatic assault-style rifle in the attack. President Emmanuel Macron named Michel Barnier as France's new prime minister. Speaking outside Hotel de Matignon in Paris at the handover ceremony, Barnier said his new role will entail responding as much as possible to the challenges facing the French government and parliament. At 73, Barnier is the oldest of the 26 prime ministers that have served modern France's Fifth Republic. He replaces the youngest, Gabriel Attal, who was 34 when he was appointed just 8 months ago. Macron is banking on the former Brexit negotiator and veteran conservative to work with the country's bitterly divided legislature. He faces the tough task of having to work with the acrimonious and deeply divided hung parliament that emerged from an early legislative election Macron called in June. Barnier's appointment ends more than 50 days of a caretaker government in France. A fire in a school dormitory in Kenya killed 17 students and seriously burned 13 others. There are fears that the death toll may rise. The cause of the fire at Hillside Endarasha Primary in Nyeri County is being investigated. President William Ruto called the news devastating and said action would be taken against those responsible. School fires are common in Kenyan boarding schools where many students stay because parents believe it gives them more time to study without long commutes. Pope Francis wrapped up his visit to Indonesia on Friday after celebrating Mass before a crowd of 100,000 people. He's heading to Papua New Guinea for the second leg of his 11-day journey through Southeast Asia and Oceania. This as East Timor prepares for the papal visitor next week. Tracy Furness has more.
The Vatican had expected around 60,000 people to the celebratory Mass led by Pope Francis in Jakarta, Indonesia on Thursday evening. But 100,000 showed up, filling up 2 sports stadiums and overflowing into a parking lot where people watched on a big screen.
Kita sebagai umat beragama
This attendee said, "I feel very grateful to have Pope Francis here because he will always bring peace, comfort, tranquility, and also joy and love from the Lord Jesus." The 87-year-old Pope had no official events Friday beyond a farewell ceremony and the 6-hour flight to Papua New Guinea's capital Port Moresby, giving him something of a break. In Papua New Guinea, the Pope's agenda is aligned with more of his social justice priorities. There are more than 10 million people living in poverty here, most of whom are subsistence farmers. Meanwhile, officials in East Timor say they are all ready to receive the Pope when he visits the tiny Catholic country next week. President Ramos Horta inaugurated a newly constructed banquet hall and presidential palace where he will receive the Pope that was built with the help of the Chinese government. Amid the ecstatic crowds, Francis will have to confront the legacy of a clerical sexual abuse scandal in the country. Revered independence hero and Nobel Peace Prize winner Bishop Carlos Felipe Jimenez Bello was secretly sanctioned by the Vatican in 2020 for sexually abusing young boys. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And back in Hong Kong, the police have launched a new mobile app for their job applications. With a new app, individuals can submit their job applications on their mobile phones. Applicants can also track the progress of their applications through the app, including interview schedules. Meanwhile, the police force will also enhance the recruit police constable selection process. Starting from Monday, this measure hopes to improve the efficiency of the recruitment process. Police constable applicants can have their final interviews on the same day as their group ones. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.